Coming up on the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast.
I always say there's four pillars to health. There's fitness, there's nutrition, but then there's also sleep and stress. And to your point, I think sleep is the foundation of health. I think oftentimes we look at fitness. Like I worked out today, cool, you got 6 hours of sleep, you're stressed at your job and you ate garbage. If you had to pick one of those four to get rid of, I would actually pick the working out. There's you feel good, you need muscle, etc. But if you're not doing the other three, the working out is significantly diminished.
Hello, and welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I'm Brian Grin, and I'm here to give you actionable tips to get your body back to what it once was 5, 10, even 15 years ago. Each week, I'll give you an in-depth interview with a health expert from around the world to cut through the fluff and get you long-term sustainable results. This week, I interviewed Jason Ackerman of Own Your Eating. Jason is a 3-time CrossFit affiliate owner with over 25 years experience in health and fitness. We discussed many topics around nutrition, mindset, and sleep. We also touched on his 6-week nutrition reset, keys to making lifestyle changes, sleeping tips, his carnivore eating, reasons to stop dairy, and his one tip to get your body back to what it once was. I really enjoyed my interview with Jason. I know you will too. And thanks so much for listening and enjoy the interview. All right. Welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Grin. I have a special guest, Jason Ackerman of Own Your Eating. Welcome to the show.
Do you call all of your guests special, or was that just for me?
You're probably like the third person I've done that to.
I know I do that whenever I have someone. I'm like, we have a special guest. I'm like, well, if everyone's special, who's actually special?
You're all special. You're all special. So yeah, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you on. I've known Jason for a while. We were part of a mastermind group back a few years back, and we've retouched and rekindled our little relationship here, and we're ready to go. So maybe tell the audience what your background is, and I know you're obviously in health and wellness, and I know you do a lot of nutrition coaching and so on and so forth. So tell us.
I'm responsible for my own introduction. It's funny because I always tell people I've been involved in the fitness industry for over 25 years, which just makes you a little bit older, but I did start relatively young. I'm 42 and it's coming up on probably closer to like 28, 29 years. It was my first job, and pretty much my only job has been inside the walls of gyms, from personal training to CrossFit affiliates to now really, I suppose, outside of the walls virtually. I mean, everyone's kind of shifted to that virtual, subcategory. And yeah, like you mentioned, I own Your Eating with my wife, Roz, our nutrition company. And then I also have another company called Best Hour of Their Day, where we focus on coaches development, specifically CrossFit coaching.
And with Own Your Eating, I know you have a bunch of programs out there. First one that hit me was you have a 6-week nutrition reset. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's really Roz's brainchild. She started this 6-week reset, as most people, I don't know when this will go up, but we're recording it relatively early in the year. And what would you say, about 99% of the US population makes or some sort of resolution? And I would say of those 99% are health and fitness related. And as you know, based on the name of the podcast, nutrition is the foundation. So that reset is really just, you've been through the holidays, maybe 2020 got away from you on many different levels, but nutrition and health and fitness included. And the 6 weeks is, hey, let's dial it back in. It starts off with really a big focus on, like you say, eating clean, quality foods. And then as people are having success with that, we start to add the component of weighing and measuring. So a little more macro base there.
Gotcha. Okay. And, as far as nutrition is concerned, do you just preach mainly whole foods, or what can I know there's different camps of individuals, and I'm not to say that you have to be in one, right? But what's your blueprint when it comes to eating foods? And
Yeah, I think like you said, whole foods, there's a few different ways to describe it. In the CrossFit world, we'd say eat meats, vegetables, nuts, seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, which is the whole food variety. And I always like to joke, not whole food like the store, but
mhm.
whole foods like, hey, if you sent this piece of food back in a time machine many generations, your relatives, our ancestors would be like, cool, this is food. I'm going to eat it. You send some broccoli or a piece of raw meat back, they'd be like, cool, maybe there's fire. We'll cook this thing up. You send a Twinkie back in a time machine and they'd probably sniff it, throw it around a little bit, then maybe one brave caveman ancestor would take a bite out of it. But the other analogy I'm sure you've used is the perimeter of the supermarket.
Mm.
But there's one important thing to add to that. We tell people shop on the perimeter. However, and at least where we live right now, in that perimeter is the bakery.
Mm.
So
Don't shop
don't don't,
there.
don't skip the bakery. Pass by the black and white cookies, and keep it to the rest of the perimeter.
Black and white cookies. So wait, where are you based out of? New York?
Well,
Or
I'm from New York my entire life. Moved to Florida.
mm,
That's when you and I were talking more often. I was in Florida. Now we're in Colorado.
okay, yeah, because black and white isn't that from New York? Is that a New York
That's
thing?
yeah. That's a that's
Yeah,
a. I mean, I think it's a
everywhere.
nationwide thing, but I think it probably was made famous in the bakeries of Brooklyn.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, as far as like challenges, I also noticed you have a 30-day transformation challenge. I like to look for different challenges because I have a 21-day challenge. What's the 30-day transformation challenge all about?
30 days was just a little more aggressive, right away diving into the macros as well.
Hmm.
Um, I think people, I think the reality of all challenges are, hey, this has to become something that's sustainable. Whether it's your 21 days, 30 days, 60 days,
Right.
challenges are great. They're usually a kick in the butt for a lot of people, the catalyst for some bigger, better, broader changes. But a challenge will only take you so far, unless you're looking to peak or unless you're looking to, show up on a specific day. The goal is, hey, after these 21 days, what do days 22 or what do days 31 or 61 look like? So I'd say the shorter the challenge, probably the more aggressive it is, for people also to know, hey, I can make it through 21 days or I can make it through 30. Where the difference is with that 60-day challenge is we're trying to also build some really good lifelong sustainable habits.
Right. Right. Exactly. Like it's all about making, like we always say, like it's a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. What are some keys to make it a lifestyle change? You think that I have challenges, you have challenges to get past those 30 days and then keep going with it. What are some of the keys for that?
I think two major keys are give your members, your athletes, the clientele that are signing up small wins.
Hmm.
Small wins such as, hey, you drank a glass of water on day one. You're winning. That was all you were expected to do. In a 21 or even 30-day challenge, you probably need to give them more than that if they actually want to see the results. But compounding wins, I think that's one. And then two would be setting them up for success when real life happens. You can live in a bubble for 21, even six. I mean, we've lived in a bubble for nearly a year at this point. But, you know, you need to set them up for success. Like, what does it look like when, you take your significant other out to dinner? What does it look like when your kid has a birthday party and there's a cake there and you don't want to be the weirdo dad who's like, no, I don't celebrate. We need to figure out what real life looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point. It reminds me with like I have two dogs, and it's like, yeah, you can do a lot of great stuff in the house. You can take them for walks in the house and work on stuff in like a bubble, like you said. But when you bring them outside, like how do they perform when there's, landscapers, another dog, and who knows, being it as a distraction. I think the same thing runs true for humans, right? You're driving, you're getting distracted every day, by, a Starbucks or a McDonald's on every corner. So how do how do you perform when you're outside of your own little bubble? I think that's a good point.
In this day and age, you're literally a text away from having, cookies and cake delivered to your house.
Oh,
So it's gotten, back in the day, if you wanted to get a treat, you had to actually leave your house and drive to the supermarket or the deli or wherever you were going. Where now, Instacart or Prime or whatever you use, within 30 minutes,
you can.
you can have it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think McDonald's ran something not that long ago because I remember listening on the radio. They were giving away free food. All you had to do was download their app and just like go through their app because obviously they want people using their app and getting used to that. So yeah, they were literally giving away free food just if you downloaded their app. So
Yeah, who doesn't want a Big Mac?
yeah, convenience, right? I mean, it's all about convenience. Um, let's talk a little bit about mindset. This keeps coming up. I think it's so important. I think it's something that maybe I like to start with a lot of people because if you don't have the right mindset, it's tough to make any other changes. What type of things do you work on with people with mindset?
The first thing I really try to dive into is understanding the why behind what they're doing.
Hmm.
So many people, I think it's pretty just standard and expected these days. Like, I want to be healthy. And unless you actually have a reason for wanting to be healthy, cookies will trump that idea of healthiness. And so we try to dive into people's why through their values and understanding, okay, these are your values. For me, for example, my values, we do our top 5 and they go health, family, meaningful work, excellence, and wealth.
Hmm.
Those are my 5 values. So for me, when I look at something every day, I will choose a healthier option because health is my priority over something else. Or what that really looks like for me is, if I have the choice between working out and work, I will work out. Now, and obviously there's a balance there because
Right.
meaningful work and wealth is part of my values as well. But health is the number one, and that means that, and if I don't work out, if I don't eat right today, none of the other things matter. So understanding what people's values are, because I think a lot of people, and I've had this conversation, hey, I see health is your number one, number two, number 5 value. Maybe it really isn't, and that's okay. That's
Right.
okay if it's not, but let's understand what that means to you. And most people, when they think about their why, it comes down to their family. They want to be there for their significant other, their kids, their grandkids, etc. And it's that reminder. Like, it's not about the scale. It's, can you squat down and pick up your kids?
Right. Yeah, no, I love how you bring up, you know, your top 5 values. I would probably put health up there. I feel like it's always top of mind, it's always a priority. Another big priority that I always try to focus people on is sleep. Do you find that that comes up a lot? And what kind of tips do you give around getting quality sleep?
Yeah, when we think about health, we often think of working out. That's what
Right.
most people think about. And then secondly, I think people understand the importance of nutrition. I always say there's 4 pillars to health. There's fitness, there's nutrition, but then there's also sleep and stress. And
Hmm.
to your point, I think sleep is the foundation of health. I think oftentimes we look at fitness, like, I worked out today, cool, you got 6 hours of sleep, you're stressed at your job, and you ate garbage.
Right.
If you had to pick one of those 4 to get rid of, I would actually pick the working out. Oh, there's, you feel good, you need muscle, etc. But if you're
Right.
not doing the other 3, the working out is significantly diminished. So, something I focus on, and in my, I've shifted over that. We used to watch Netflix in bed. We used to, have a TV in the bedroom. Since we moved here, there's no TV in the bedroom.
Yeah.
We bring our device in for a Kindle, like, we allow ourselves to read in bed,
Hmm.
but no television. We just try to get to bed earlier. We're in bed, ideally lights out by 10. Neither of us have to set an alarm right now, but we're typically up by 6:30, 7 at the latest. So I think it's really just eliminating those distractions, which for most of us are your phones or your iPads or your computers, and then creating a routine of, okay, I get to bed, by 9:30, I read for 30 minutes and I fall asleep. Less stuff going on in the bedroom. And then, our dogs do not sleep in the bedroom with us. I know a lot of people
Mm.
allow that. That's always been something my dogs snore like crazy. So they would keep me up,
Uh,
they move around. So once we're in bed, it's like, hey, let's try to get the best quality sleep. We both wear earplugs. We
mm,
both have eye masks when it starts to get bright. So little things like that actually
mm.
go quite a long way.
Yeah, I love how you bring up like a sleep routine. People think about routines, they they think about other things. They don't necessarily think about having like a sleep routine. And I love how no TV in the bed. I was lucky all growing up. I never had a TV in the bed. I don't think I've ever had a TV in the bed, which is great. I am moving, and there will be a TV, but I think I'm so used to not having one that I won't be. I'll try not to turn that on. What about and you talk about your dogs as well. So your dogs don't sleep in the bed, and they sleep in another room, right?
Yeah, we have three dogs.
Oh,
One of them who's sleeping at my feet right now. I don't know if you can pick up his snoring. He's a French bulldog.
okay.
He snores like crazy. And the other two would just be moving around. So they sleep in the mudroom behind a gate. They have their own little space. They each have their own bed.
That's
And
nice.
they're probably like, hey, we don't let humans sleep with us. So,
Right,
it works both ways. I always, whenever someone tells me their dogs, which part of me wishes we let them sleep with us. We love our dogs, but I'm like,
right.
my sleep, it goes back to health and then family. My dogs are my family, but my
Yeah.
health is my priority.
No, it's smart. I mean, I have two dogs. I just got another dog, and he's 2 years old, and he has his own bed. They both sleep in their beds next to our bed, but he's been sneaking up, and he's so small, you don't even know he's in there. I'll wake up, it's like 4 in the morning. He's curled up next to me. It's like, oh gosh.
Yeah, you know what? I recently went up in September. I did travel and I drove, and I brought the little guy with me, and that was fun. I let him sleep in the bed with me in the hotel. It was like
Yeah,
vacation, but yeah, he would wake me up. He'd constantly be burrowing underneath me, snore. I would be
right.
pushing him away because he'd be snoring so loud. It's amazing what a little 20-pound dog,
Yeah.
the amount of noise they can make in the middle of the night.
um, yeah. And so, um, also regarding routines, we talk about sleep routine. What's your morning routine? I'm a big morning ritual guy. I like to ask my guests this. So, what is your morning routine?
Yeah, and I'll talk to you about it, but I do think, like you said, so many people put such an emphasis on their morning routine and no emphasis on their evening routine. So
Right.
I do believe they're equally important because the evening routine sets you up for success in the morning. So
Yeah.
in the morning for me, the short, quick things that kind of start my day, I go to the bathroom. I always weigh myself,
Mm,
and I weigh myself just it gives me an idea of where my body's at and what the foods I ate the day before, how they've impacted me. And I think for a lot of people, simply the act of stepping on the scale can rein them in. When I see that number creeping up, if I've been a little too lenient with my diet, it's a reminder of that day, hey, bring it back in.
hmm.
So I always step on the scale in the morning, and then I go into the kitchen. And speaking of the dogs, I fill up their water bowls. I give them fresh water every day, but then
Mm,
I drink about 32 ounces of water myself. So I fill up. I have a Yeti bottle that I fill up, and I don't really do anything else until it takes 30 seconds. But I take that down,
hmm.
and then my new routine since the holidays, because my wife got me an awesome present, is pour over coffee. So super hipster, right? Like, and
Nice.
it's just a little meditative routine, but I look forward to my morning coffee, and then I usually sit down with Rocky, the Frenchie, on my lap and read for
Hmm.
20 to 30 minutes while I sip that coffee. And from there, depending on the day, I like to journal. So I might journal at that point, and ultimately leading to my workout in the morning. So
Okay.
about an hour, really the first hour of my day is pretty chill. I do my best to avoid my phone, my computer,
Hmm.
any of that stuff. And because once you do that, you're just in defense mode.
Right. Rain. Yeah, exactly. Those devices will just rein you in. I do the same thing. I actually get up and do you take them? Well, I take my dogs for walks first thing. They're used to going for a morning walk. And then so you normally have coffee, work out after about an hour, right? And then so you're doing some type of, obviously we all do fasting to some degree, right? Because we don't eat overnight. But do you incorporate some type of fasting in your routine?
Yes and no. I don't eat before I work out, so I wind up typically not eating my first meal till 10:30, 11.
Okay.
I'll work out, get a few things done. Maybe I also then like to take the dogs for a walk, depending on the weather. And they'll probably eat at 11, and I probably most nights stop eating at around 8. So
Okay.
15-hour fast or so. But there are definitely days where I've got calls that start at that point, and I'm not afraid to fast. I just don't purposely do it. In the past, I've fasted every day, and I think it's a great thing. I just now I'd say probably twice a week do I extend beyond 16 hours, and relying on all my experience fasting, I'm never upset about it. I just
Right.
you realize when you fasted often enough, like, you'll be fine.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I always say fasting is like a great tool to just have in the toolbox, right? If you've never done it, you should try it. It doesn't mean you have to do it every day per se. Um, I'm I like to. I enjoy it. Sometimes I do longer ones. If I don't feel like doing longer ones, I do shorter ones. But yeah, it's just a tool to have. Um, and what would you say typical meals are like? I know you talk a lot about macros. Are there certain, sort of like macro counts that you're looking for you, or even for your
Well,
clients? Yeah.
I would say right now I'm a little different than my clients. Since
Mhm.
about July, I've been doing Carnivore. So you
Oh,
familiar with Carnivore?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I've been super, I wouldn't say strict isn't the right word, because I never feel like I want to deviate, but I've been pretty much 100% carnivore since just a random day in July. We were having breakfast, my wife and I was eating bacon and eggs.
Mhm,
And she had heard me talking about carnivore since probably that January.
mhm,
January is World Carnivore Month. And I had seen people like Joe Rogan and Mark Bell, and then ultimately Dr. Paul Saladino,
mm.
who I started talking to, discussing carnivore. And it was just a day in July. I said, maybe next week or the week after, I'm going to actually give it a go. And she said, just start, just do it. You're
Right.
eating bacon and eggs, you're on it. And it was that moment. And since then, so now we're in January, it's been over 6 months. So my typical breakfast is 4 eggs, 3 slices of bacon, 3 sausages, 3 ounces of smoked salmon. So that's typically how I would break my fast in the morning. And then I, there's obviously different methods of fasting. Once I eat that breakfast, I really don't eat again until dinner. So in the middle of my day, I go about 7 or 8 hours also without eating. And that breakfast is so satisfying and satiating,
Right.
tons of fat in it. I feel great throughout the day.
Okay, so when you say carnivore, some people might think, "Oh, he's just eating meat," but, you're eating eggs and bacon and other things. What about organ meats?
I do eat daily organ meat. So yeah, it's meat. I would say the only deviation from meat for me right now is eggs. Well, and let me make one other small caveat. I've incorporated a little bit of fruit into my diet as well. So
Mhm,
for the first maybe 5 months, it was strict, and I had cheese. And then I was having a little bit of gut issues, and I cut cheese out and realized
it's
my
not for
body
you.
was not, yeah, my
Yeah.
body was not tolerating cheese. Little things too. I would get dry skin.
Mm.
None of that's happening anymore. So it's pretty amazing the
You were
impact of,
Yeah, you were getting dry skin from what? What do you think it was?
I think it was the cheese.
Okay.
Any dairy really. I didn't have a lot of dairy, but I noticed when I would have, so I have a beard, but I would get like flaky skin under my beard.
Oh, okay.
And it's like basically it was like dandruff on your head, but under my beard. And I would use like Head and Shoulders on my beard and it would go away. But then if I'd have cheese, it would come back. And then when I cut cheese out, I've not had that issue.
Mm,
And my stomach's been great. My stomach was having
yeah.
digestive issues. Now I no longer do. So yeah, I have eggs along with any meat. Like I said, the bacon, the sausage, I have steak or chicken wings. And then I incorporate liver and heart on a daily basis.
Mm. And I just had heart. My wife prepared heart the other day, and it was actually good. It was like maybe like a tougher beef tenderloin, I would
Yeah,
say.
it's heart is very steakish.
Yeah. Yeah, just firmer. That was the one thing I got from it. But so are you making that, or are you taking that through supplementation?
No, I ordered uh, months ago enough that I still have plenty, and probably once every 5 or 6 days I open one of the and they come individually, wrap the heart and the liver. I open them up, slice it up, throw it on a pan. I'm not really doing it for the taste. I'm doing it for the
Right,
nutrients and the fuel.
right.
Um,
How do,
and I try to have like 4 ounces combined of the two organ meats per day.
and
It's actually probably what I'll eat after this.
with the liver, how do you prepare that? Do you soak that in milk? I know, well, obviously you're not soaking it in milk because dairy is not good for you, but yeah, no, you're just sautéing it.
I'm just yeah. I'm actually I'll eat as I open the new pack. I'll typically eat like 2 ounces raw. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that was something I learned from Dr. Paul Saladino. He'd be a great guest. Happy to introduce you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And he wrote a book called The Carnivore Code. And so I have like a small slice raw, and then I usually cut it all into just cubes, mix it, stir fry it all in a pan with a little avocado spray,
Mm-hmm.
and then just put it in a big Tupperware and take, like I said, about 4 ounces out per day
Okay.
of the combination. And I'm not eating it for taste. I'm not eating it really for because I'm hungry. I'm literally only eating it because I know it's nutritious.
Right. Yeah, I gotta start trying that. And so raw, how was that raw? I'm just curious.
Again, you're not doing it because it tastes
I
good. You're
know, I
literally
know.
just,
I
it's
trust me.
like back,
Yeah.
it's no different than doing a shot when you're, 21. You're not doing it for the taste of the fireball. You're doing it to get drunk. It's just like, I'm not doing it for the taste of liver. I'm doing it for the nutritious value.
Right. Oh
I
wow.
like, if someone's listening to this, consult with your doctor. How about that?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe find a recipe. Start with that because there's plenty of recipes out there. I actually interviewed a woman who came out with a recipe book just for organ meats, Ashley Van Houten. I don't know if you know
Oh,
her.
look her up for sure. Yeah, and growing up in New York, a Jewish grandma, I'd love to learn how to make chopped liver. Maybe one day I'll make that.
Yeah, there you go. Um, I know I've been ordering those liverwursts from U.S. Wellness Meats. Have you tried those?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Is it just cuts of meat, cuts of liver?
There's more. There's organ meats in there. It's like it almost looks like salami, but it's just a blended up organ meats in there. It's good.
Cool.
Yeah, put it with eggs.
Uh, Salami becomes my snack. So then, you
Yeah.
eat like any diet, you want to satisfy your emotional cravings as well. Like, we talk about going to bed early. We usually get on the couch at maybe 8 o'clock, watch something together, chill out together, and I'll have some salami or some pork rinds. So
Okay.
I'm still getting, a little bit of a snack before I go to bed. And yeah, it's funny how you can change your palate and your taste buds.
Yeah. No, that is true. You're not, do you have any cravings for like anything sweet? Because I like, do you do any cheat foods on on the carnivore?
I've not cheated once since
Yeah.
starting. Like I said, I've incorporated a little bit of fruit back into my diet, about 200 grams of berries or mandarins, just because I think it's probably okay to have, I'm trying to live as if a caveman would live, and if they found a little bit of fruit every day, they would eat it, but they would eat primarily meat. So I'm trying to have some of that, but really,
Have you noticed a difference in your body, your energy, anything since you started doing this?
it's the best I've ever felt.
Yeah.
It's truly the best. While I say that, this isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
I've hardly left my house since March, so it's easy to eat this way. The handful of times I've gone out to eat chicken wings or a Five Guys, even just get the meat, the burgers. But I can tell you from a few different perspectives. I'm happy with how I look, and I've been lean in the past, doing macros, doing other plans, but I find this to be low stress. I'm like, hey, either it's meat or it's not. If it's meat, I can eat it. And I don't really limit myself to how much. I try to eat till I'm full and not overdo it. My performance, I train CrossFit and my performance is great. And I have really sustained energy throughout the day. I would equate it to, like we were talking about earlier, fasting. People that
Right.
fast realize you get kind of this clarity, you get this extended energy. You don't have these dips and valleys like you do when you're eating throughout the day. And I think this is the closest I've been to that. And yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm sleeping well. And like I said, it's low stress. So I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah. Well, the simplicity of it too makes it easy to follow, right? There's, meat and like eggs pretty much, right? Um, just keep
You,
it,
you
yeah,
keep it, yeah, it's, I have a few clients that I've worked with on it, and it's simple, not easy.
right.
It's simple in the sense, if you made one of those charts, like I said, is it meat? Yes, eat it. No, don't eat it. But I have a pregnant wife, and she has food in the house that's not meat. And you asked if I have cravings. I I don't want to say I never have cravings, but I will say I feel good enough that overcomes the cravings.
Yeah, I have a pregnant wife too. We have a lot in common
When
here.
does she do?
End of June.
We're due next month,
Oh,
February.
okay. You're
Or
ready to
maybe,
go.
yeah, maybe by the time this is out, she's here already.
Yeah, probably. Um, well, yeah, that's yeah, you keep hearing there's definitely a carnivore movement going on, and I actually used to not have meat hardly at all. I was sort of like a pescatarian for a while, and then when the quarantine hit, I started lifting at home more, and then I always ate a lot at home, but I just started get way away from like the big salads and some of these veggie burgers, and I've just gotten more like carnivore-ish, I would say. I still have some things here and there, maybe some vegetables here and there, but yeah, my body changed. I got stronger, and I could noticeably see a difference in the way I performed and felt. Um, so it's been a good thing for me too. And then, yeah, getting into organ meats. I use a little bit with ancestral supplements, and every so often just to stay consistent. But I'll have to maybe give that a go. Try your just heart and liver and just saute them. Then maybe, yeah,
Yeah, I'm by no means a good cook, so I literally just,
right.
like I said, cook it, throw some salt on it, eat it.
And you're still doing CrossFit, I see.
Oh, yeah, I'm wearing a shirt. Yeah, 5 mornings a week, I'd say, whether in the garage here, we have a nice little setup, or we go to a local affiliate down the road, Ralston Creek. Yeah, 9 a.m. ish every day, hit
Hmm.
something.
Yeah. And then what about your certification course? Maybe we'll just touch on that. Um, I know you've had that since I've known you, right? Has that changed, or have you done anything differently with that course?
No, so we do have the On Your Eating certificate course, and yeah, it's changed a little bit in the fact that Roz has made it significantly more robust. We
Mhm.
started off and it was great. It has CEUs for NASM, AFA, and CrossFit, and I think recently they were bumped up because we've added so much to it. But yeah, great course for people looking to either A, just learn more themselves, or B, become coaches.
Right. Yeah, which is becoming a big field, right? A lot of health, a lot of health coaches. I feel like, and people are working from home more and more. So, um, yeah. And so I was going to ask you too. What about? Let's talk about. I noticed on your website 7 nutrition mistakes that people make. I figured that'd be a good topic to maybe touch on. What's some of the mistakes that you see, and how can sort of correct them?
There's I think for a lot of people, just we grow up and we are bombarded with information on nutrition,
Hmm.
and it becomes kind of the gospel. And our parents, the generation that we grew up in, I was a kid of the 80s and 90s,
Right.
really, for some reason, thought they knew everything. Your parents are a big shifter of your nutrition beliefs, and you're kind of prone to whatever they taught you. And a lot of that would be, whether it's fat free or carbs are bad for you. So I think one of the biggest inconsistencies people have is just the imbalance of what they're eating. So many people that we talk to, whether Their macros are just way out of whack. Like, and that typically looks like very high carbs, very low protein, or inconsistencies in their calories. I listen to numerous radio shows and podcasts where, the solution for most people when it comes to losing weight is like a 700 calorie diet. It goes back to those challenges. Will that work for a day, 2 days, a week? Sure. But at some point you're binging. So, just finding that balance. Other little things are water intake.
Mm.
People walk around in this state of dehydration. That's something I've carried a gallon jug for like the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So just
The
drinking
same
enough
one?
water.
Same one?
I've
I
gotten a
lose.
few new ones over the
Yeah.
years.
Okay. Yeah,
A
most
reason,
people most people think that they're hungry, but they're actually dehydrated, right?
yeah, and that's a tip that I give to people. Hey, when you really feel hungry, like you want to, whether it's I'm just hungry, I'm going to eat anything, or B, I'm going to give into this craving. Drink a tall, have my bottle, and I will drink that, and then wait 5 minutes. If you
Right.
still want it, consider it. But maybe you were just thirsty, or maybe that, it's no different. I heard somebody talking about quitting smoking. And they said, you have to kind of live in that suffering a little bit. And it's
Mm.
just, when you want that cigarette or you want that, sugary food, you know, sit with it for a minute.
Right.
Because if you're, it's like having a baby, right? Every time it cries, are you trying to soothe it, or are you letting it kind of,
Sit.
figure this thing out? Like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, I like that term, like sort of live in your suffering for a bit. I think that like we have such like we want everything now. I remember like cravings or hunger. If I had an inkling of before I started doing fasting, if I had an inkling of hunger, I'd just grab a I don't know grab a kind bar right away. But now it's like since I've been since I've incorporated fasting, it's like you still get hunger pains or waves, but they come and go and they leave. And you have to sort of be patient, let them go. Or like you said, water's great as well. A little bit of sea salt in there too, just to get some minerals. Uh,
I throw some Himalayan sea salt in my water.
yeah.
That's great. Great little trick there. And I throw apple cider vinegar in it when I'm drinking it with a meal. I don't know if that does anything, but I have a lot of things that I
Yeah.
just do, and people always ask what I do, and I'm like, that's what I do. I don't know that it works,
Right.
but I like it.
Yeah, well, I think it's good to test things out on yourself and see what works for you and what doesn't. It's like you said, like, you're doing carnivore, that's not for everybody, and it's like the ultimate elimination diet, right, per se. But dairy, like your experiment with dairy. I mean, if your digestion isn't working or you're getting dandruff on your beard, then maybe you should, try eliminating some things and see how, it's like if I ever have, if I ever have gas, I'm like, well, what did I, like I might have had onions or something, or, something might have set that off. Um,
And it's funny, it depends on the value of it. I've had this kind of itchy beard for years now,
mm,
and I didn't know. I thought it was just my skin, and it wasn't until I had gut issues. I had like for like 2 weeks, my stomach was really off, and I realized I was eating a lot more cheese than usual, and it wasn't, So for me, it was like, hey, dandruff in my beard, acceptable for cheese, but my stomach hurting this much, not acceptable, and so I cut it out for my stomach, and then it wasn't until I did that that I realized the other, issues that it was causing, and going back to your cravings question, it is carnivore is the ultimate really elimination diet, and I think that's part of the reason that for me it's easy not to want to cheat, because I'm truly concerned, like if I have cookies, what will that do to my stomach? Will I
mm,
break out in a rash? So there
right.
is that. In a good way, it's almost like freedom, like I can have that stuff because I don't know the impact it'll have on my body.
Right. Yeah, and then when you mentioned dry skin, I was asking because I have some dry skin issues, and I'm just curious what's it from. I mean, it only happens in the winter here in Chicago, so
Yeah, I
perhaps it's
mean,
just
cold
yeah,
Chicago could do it as well. But I think for almost anyone I speak to, when they're having skin issues, it's something food related. It's an
Right.
allergy to something. I mean, dry skin because you're out in the blistering cold, windy city is
Right.
one thing. But I was having this issue when I was in Florida, no
Mm.
different than when I was in Colorado.
Yeah.
So I knew this was definitely, you see eczema, you see things like that, and you're like,
Right.
something you're eating is causing that. But for a lot of people, like I said, it's not worth it enough. Like, cool, eczema, but I can eat cookies. Okay. For me, it's not until you realize eczema is one small thing. It's a drug, and the cheese. I wasn't eating pounds of cheese. I was having like 3 ounces. And that was on a bad day. So
Right.
when you realize, hey, just that small drip every day is what's contributing to it.
Right. Yeah. It adds up over time, you know? Um, this is a question I always ask my guests towards the end here. What would be one tip that you would give, someone that's middle aged, 40s, 50s, even 60s,
Am
right?
I middle aged? Am I middle
How old
aged?
are
I
you?
guess 42.
Okay, so I'm 40. We're both expecting kids, so it's
Yeah. Is
exciting.
this your first?
Yeah, yeah.
Same. Yeah.
You have 3 dogs. I have two.
It's very similar. We're both
Yeah,
in cold areas.
yeah. You're in Colorado. I love Colorado. Um, anyways, what would be one tip that you would give an individual looking to get their body back to maybe what it once was 5, 10, 15 years ago? Because you see that a lot, middle-aged individuals, they just lose track of time with work and kids. What would be maybe one tip you'd give them?
Ooh, there's so
Mm,
many you want to give. I think, obviously you would think about a little more, you get to know this person more. But if I blanket statement,
yeah,
busy person, you and I would say get up 30 minutes earlier and do some activity. And, we talked about how activity isn't the primary thing. Really nutrition is what's going to solve your problem.
right.
But I believe if I can get you to get up earlier, create this new habit of the alarm goes off, I go to the garage, and whether you have dumbbells, kettlebells, or nothing, when you move for those 30 minutes, I think it will translate into a first win to start the day, and it will be compounding to lots of little wins. And you will naturally choose better food options throughout the day. Where I think if I would have just told you to eat better, you would have fallen off.
Mm,
And hopefully if that 30 minutes makes you wake up at 5, now you're going to bed earlier, which means you're thinking, all these little things. So if I can only give one piece of advice, wake up 30 minutes earlier and work out.
yeah, I love that because you're trying to create some type of snowball effect, right? If you implement this one small habit, well, then from there, maybe you'll want to watch what you're eating or, eat better and go to sleep earlier, and just be more productive throughout the day. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I get so much accomplished first thing in the morning that, getting up 30 minutes early for some type of routine can really sort of help the rest of your day.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot harder to swing by the McDonald's drive-through after working out than it would be, otherwise.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you start taking care of your body, and one way of doing that is working out. You're going to want to fuel it right, and hopefully fuel it right, and not make an excuse saying you just worked out. Now I can eat eat junk, which some people do. But yes, I agree that is a good first step. And like you said, small wins, right? It's all about small
Exactly.
wins. Well, Jason, this was great. Tons of info. And where can people find you?
Probably the best place to see everything would be on Instagram,
Okay.
Coach Jason Ackerman. Once you find me there, you'll find everything else.
You'll find out. Yeah. Oh,
People still
social
ask where
media.
can I find you. It's Google. Google somebody, you'll find them, right?
Yeah, very true. Okay, definitely on Instagram. I'll put some links in the show notes. Well, thanks, Jason. This was great. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you, Brian. About to go have some liver and heart, and I look forward to catching up again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I understand there are millions of other podcasts out there, and you've chosen to listen to mine, and I appreciate that. Check out the show notes at briangrin.com for everything that was mentioned in this episode. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend or family member that's looking to get their body back to what it once was. Thanks again and have a great day.